You guys know me? You know who I am. No, that's wrestling. But I'm Art Baltazar. I'm a cartoonist. I work with DC Comics, and Dark Horse Comics, and make my own comics, Oh Yeah Comics. Draw Tiny Titans, Superman Family, Itty Bitty Hellboy, and Oh Yeah Comics with Action Cat and Adventure Bug. This is my friend, I call him Zod. This is Chris Smith. This is my brother and publisher, so I call him my broblisher. And we work on Oh Yeah Comics together. He makes sure everybody gets their books, and I make sure the books get made. That's pretty much it. So I need him to help me. When I'm done drawing a book, I said, all right, dude, I'm done. He goes, all right, I'll take it from there. So I got a team of guys that we work with, and they're called my Oh Yeah crew. Because, you know, Oh Yeah Comics, word up. But I'm here to, I don't know, just talk about the comics, talk about what I do. If you guys got questions, I want to answer. I got a whole bunch of answers to give you, but I don't know what they are yet. But I got answers that I have. I don't know if they're the right answers, the one I have in my head. If you guys want to know stuff, I could spoil stuff, you know. As long as you don't ask me technical things, I need a calculator, I'll be all right.
How old were you when you started drawing?
There you go, cool. I started when I was 4 years old. I was a little boy, and I wanted to thank Sears, the company Sears who makes washers and dryers, because my dad worked for Sears when I was a little kid. I was 4 years old, and I had a little baby brother in a crib, and my dad used to be home during the day, and he used to work at nighttime. So all day during the day, he would draw with me. He would draw Ernie and Bert and Batman and Robin, because those were my guys I watched on TV, Sesame Street and Batman and Robin. And then all of a sudden, his Sears made him work day shift. Where's Dad? He's not here. I wanted him to draw my stuff. So I asked my mom to draw Ernie and Bert, and she wasn't good. You know, she didn't know how to draw. So I said, I'll do it myself. It's kind of the mentality ever since, I'll do it myself. So I started drawing my own guys. And then, you know, I went to kindergarten and started drawing on the back of all my homework and all my art, any paper I could find. And it's funny because my kids are doing that too. And they're turning in homework. They finish their homework, they draw on the backs, and then they turn it back over and draw all on the borders. And my wife says, well, I don't know if teachers are going to think that's sloppy. I'm like, no, let them do it. Let them go. Let the teacher tell them that that's not right. So I could tell them, no, you're doing fine. Do it, because that's what I did. And if I could use myself as a cool example, then they don't have to learn the wrong way. They just learn, you got to do it this way, kids. But I just veered off the path. But then, so that's when I started drawing. I want to thank my dad for getting a better position at Sears. Working day shift, he's no longer on the midnight shift. And that's where I started. I started drawing my own characters, or other people's characters, but I made them mine. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? What else we got? Should I just keep talking? I'll just keep talking. What else you want to know? You want to know where I went to school? Yes, sir.
So I heard that you do all your art like pure digitally, not
Yeah.
actually. Does that make life easier? Or
Yeah, it's for a guy who's working on comics every day, because now I have jobs where people go to work every day and they gotta wear a tie. Well, I wear a tie when I go out. It's different, it's opposite. I work in my pajamas, but when I get dressed to go out, I always dress up. I take my wife to grocery shopping, I'll show up like this, pick her up in the car, they think she's important, you know, so, well, she is, but, you know, they wonder, who's that? Is that the mayor? You know, stuff like that. But I do a lot of my stuff now on the computer, digitally. I draw right on the computer screen because it saves me a lot of time. But when I went to school, I learned how to paint on an easel. I would paint standing up and draw on a bench, and I never had computer class in college. I graduated in 1992. You guys probably weren't even born yet, or you were little babies. See? So I was already a young man. I was a man because I was suffering. Because you know when you suffer, yeah, he became a man last week. You know, his rent's due. So I had to work, you know, I had to work jobs and pay my bills. But when I was in college, I never had a computer class. So at that time, there was no internet. Internet wasn't around. I didn't discover it until about 1998. And with you guys, it's been around all your life. So I had to learn about the internet. I had to learn a computer. And now I'm already graduated. I'm out of school for 6, 7, 8 years. And so when I went to school, it was all painting. And when I was in school, they asked me, who do I like? Which artist I like. I had to pick someone who paints, like, I love Picasso and I love Rembrandt, the guys who paint old master paintings and sculptures. I love those guys. And then they told me to pick a modern guy. And you ever see those Indiana Jones posters and Star Wars posters? Yeah, I picked that guy. I want to paint like that guy, and I want to paint like that guy. They're like hundreds of thousand years apart, but I want to paint like those two guys. So I learned how to paint like those two guys. And that's how I learned that's how I learned art, how I learned painting, how I learned drawing. But all the time before that, I was still a cartoonist, but I got trained that way. Like, it's like when you want to become a dancer, you have to learn ballet first. If you want to be a rock musician or a piano player or light your piano on fire at a concert, boom, 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 you got to learn Beethoven first. So I had to learn all the old master stuff to get classically trained. You learn the old stuff the right way. You want to be a rock star guitarist, you got to learn how to read notes. You got to practice. You got to know what the chords are, what all the things, you got to learn all the technical stuff, and then when you know all that, you can do whatever you want and you know how already. So I had to learn all that way. It was kind of fun, but then it was challenging too. So that was kind of good.
Do you ever miss drawing paper?
I draw on paper. I have a.
You here, but.
Yeah, I do all my digital stuff. I do it on all the computers on a computer. I mean, all the comics on a computer. But I have a sketchbook that I carry around with me all the time, and I go through about maybe 3 or 4 sketchbooks a year, and I draw on there every day. I write stuff down in my sketchbook, any story idea. We were out last night, we were talking about stuff. Before we went to bed, 1:30 in the morning, I'm laying down, I'm like, oh, I got an idea. I went back to the hotel drawer, got the thing on, and I fell asleep, and the sketchbook was right by my bed, because sometimes I get those ideas. I just stay up a little bit more just to write them down, because everything I ever think about, every funny thing, every funny story eventually makes it into one of my comics. And it might take, even my friend Franco says, oh, you come back to everything. I said, because it was funny. We got a guy coming out, his name is Abraham Linkage. And he's a sausage that looks like Abraham Lincoln. His name's Linkage. So I had him a little while, and we're finally working on a story. So that's coming, but it was about a year and a half in the making. But we always find a time. So I thought it would be funny to have Abraham Linkage, and he swats flies, or flies taco bats with a fly swatter. So it's funny. And then they made that movie with the vampire hunter. That's our idea. So it was kind of fun. So anything I ever do or write it, I save it. And I have these sketchbooks. I have a bookshelf in my house that's just my sketchbooks. And I have to label the sides, like the year and what's inside of it. I'll look through it and I'll write the ideas on the spine. So when I'm looking for a story, I say, oh, here, it's in this book. So a lot of that stuff happens, especially with Tiny Titans. I had so much stories. And with Superman Family, we wrote out into issue 50 for Superman Family. We had so much content and stories and aliens and Candor, all this stuff that we didn't get to use because it was cut short at issue 12. But I had so much. I could write Superman for another 25 years. I had so much. I'm going to do it the right way, too. You'll see.
He references those books all the time. We were out the other night and talking about ideas, and he'll pull it out of his pocket. I'm going to use this guy, and this guy can do it. Seriously, true story, all the time.
Yeah, we saw a guy yesterday. I showed you and someone else. It's just a floppy guy with pants on. He's got jeans and a buckle and a belt. And I'm like, what is he? I don't know. But
it's like Baltazar hieroglyphics. It's kind of like, what? I don't know, but he does this. Okay.
I don't know what he is, but he'll be around.
That stuff's making it into the books. It's just like, okay, we'll do it.
Like awesome. Last week in Baltimore, I was on stage drawing with the kids, and I drew an elephant that was shaped like the letter D, and then he was floating on a cloud. And I just came up with a whole storyline over the weekend. His name is Delephant, because he looks like a D. So like my kids would create a name like that. Because they get a zebra stuffed animal, and what's his name? ZB? Like, what's your lion's name? Liony? So I thought it would be fun, but I made a whole story about Delephant meeting anti-gravity bear, meeting aliens. It's kind of fun. So I just always use whatever I have. It's cool. Coughing. Yes, sir, you got your hand up. You got something waiting to be told.
Do you guys write SpongeBob?
No, not yet. I will eventually.
He writes the Tiny Titans.
Tiny Titans, Superman Family, Itty Bitty Hellboy, and all that kind of stuff.
have you ever met somebody like a waitress or like a favorite teacher that ever shows up in any of your comic books? Or a representation of that person?
Sometimes. Franco's in all the books, so, my buddy Franco.
Oh, yeah, selling hot dogs.
Yeah, whenever I use, it's funny because whenever I need a person in my book, like a waitress or a vendor or somebody doing something, I won't make that person up. I'll actually use one of my friends. Like in Superman Family, every time there was somebody threw a car, it was always him in the car. If you look in the
And
you see
yellow
him.
shirts, I'm like, I don't even own a yellow shirt. Why am I always getting thrown in the car?
Because you see a bald guy with whiskers on his
Yeah.
face. It's always him.
And then he
So-
redeemed it though, because there's an
I
issue
put-
where he made me and Mark, he made us Kryptonians.
Yeah, and
Oh,
you
we're
were-
like getting destroyed.
Yeah,
So
you,
it's like, oh.
the Brainiac was hurting you. We're like, curses you,
I'm
Brainiac.
always
I gave a
something
speaking role.
horrible.
But yeah, I always, it's fun, man. This is so much, so cool. But it's funny you mentioned SpongeBob, because I had a lot of jobs that I tried out for. I got hired to make SpongeBob comics one day, and then the next day they told me, no, we went with someone else. So I got hired. Here's all the jobs I had for a few hours. Family Guy, Arnold the Aardvark. Is his name Hey Arnold? Or that Aardvark, that little guy. Arthur. Him, Curious George, Cat Dog, Rugrats. I got hired to draw all these guys, and then once I started drawing it, they said, no, it doesn't look right. It looks like you drew it. So and SpongeBob, I made it to, they wanted me to draw SpongeBob. It was for books or for some animation game online or something. And I'm like, no, draw us this. And they're like, all right. And they're like, no, it don't look right. Here, draw the backgrounds. And then I drew the backgrounds. No, we'll call you if we need you. Man, so, but now I stopped trying to get, that was over 10 years ago, I had all that. But it was kind of fun. I learned a lot of different things. Trying to make your own comics and then try to get jobs with other people, it's kind
I would
of
think that
fun.
would be hard to have somebody else's vision or somebody
Yeah.
else's ideas.
That's what everyone told me, that you can't work with us because you draw like you too much. That's what I'm like,
Well, that's a good thing.
yeah, so it works out. So I'm gonna draw like me forever. And I figure, like, I always tell artists, just people always ask me, how do you become a comic artist, or how do you write comics? And I always say, well, write a comic. Just go ahead, write it. One guy asked me yesterday, how do I break in the industry? I said, you're in it. He's like, what? Because you just asked me. You're here at the Cincinnati Comic Show, and you're asking me how to break in the industry, and you're taking notes. Like, yeah, he said, you're it. You're there. Now just make the comic. Yes, ma'am.
Do you mess up a lot?
I mess up on every page, but no one ever notices. But I don't like to say they're mess ups. I like to say they're changes, because like my big philosophy, my big way of thinking is anything I do is because I want to, and it's a good thing. If anything's bad and it hurts, I get rid of it. Like if your shoes are too small, you don't wear them again, right? You get rid of them, get new shoes. So that's my philosophy. Get rid of the bad stuff, keep the good stuff. So if something's not right on the page, I'll change it. I'll get
We'll
rid
be on
of it.
Skype late at
Yeah.
night, talking all night, and he draws while we talk.
Mhm.
And we can be talking about anything from Planet of the Apes to what we're doing in the but as he's drawing, and every once in a while he'll be like, ooh, ooh, oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh. And I'm like, and you know he screwed up.
I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Sometimes I draw too fast, even on a computer, that it can't catch up. And I'll draw something. I'm like,
But especially
oh.
when he does that, I always laugh when he goes, what? Oh, oh, oh.
Oh, man. Oh.
But then I hear him backtrack as he fixes
Like,
it.
all right, I'll fix it. Undo, 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 undo.
It doesn't smell like the eraser when you,
No, I like doing that. The thing that's different now is my hands are not dirty. They still got the bumps and lumps from holding a pencil, but I had a permanent ink in this finger for years. Like my fingernail around the skin was black. Like how you draw a Sharpie? Well, that if I did it every day, and I had the wrinkles in my hands were black. They're like, you get a car mechanic, he comes home with dirty hands, but he never can get quite clean because the oil and grease goes in his fingers, and that's what happens when I draw. Like the lead was always on this finger right here from the pencil, and it just goes in your skin. I still have a few airbrush holes from when I used to airbrush, and I used to get stabbed with that needle. And it shoots paint in your hand, and it hurts real bad. So I have a few of that on me, but that don't happen as much on a computer. You don't get injured. He does loose stuff.
Oh.
So now, what else we got? Richard, I could just keep talking to.
Do you ever think about trying a more serious, I guess maybe like instead of like a Tiny Titans, like an actual real Teen Titans book or anything? Don't get me wrong, I enjoy the.
Yeah, no, I get the closest we came is Young Justice, but still I like action adventure. And we're doing a green team for DC New 52, but I like action adventure, romance, comedy. I like all that stuff. But the way I am is I'm a cartoonist, and that's what I know how to do the best, because it comes out of me, and I don't really think about dramatic, serious comics and stuff. Like I like watching Breaking Bad and Walking Dead and stuff, but that's what I like. But I watch cartoons too, but it's mostly because my kids have them on. I like them. Like I love Adventure Time, the regular show, and we watch Brave and the Bold. I watch whatever. I even watch Hey Jessie. What's that? Jessie and the Dog with a Blog. I've been watching those with my daughter. She puts them on after school, and I'm like, that's cool. I see what Disney has with the girls with the round heads. You know, I'm watching them. They all have the same heads and cute and long hair. So I get it, and I like those. I like that she's watching them because they're good shows. And I'm laughing with them because all the boys look like who's that guy? The guy who's Aaron Carter's little brother. They all look like that kid. But I like them. But what was the question? Oh yeah. So I don't really have the serious stuff on my radar. But I like to draw because I grew up reading those kind of books. I read X-Men and Teen Titans and Spider-Man, the Hulk. So mostly when I write those more serious, more superhero books, I write them with Franco, my partner Franco, because he really wants to write those. And he's the action adventure mainstream where if I never get to write those, I'll be fine making kids books and comic books and cartoony books all my life. And that's what I want to do. And there was one time I was in an animation studio. I got hired to work there, and from 9 to 5 every day, all I would do was draw characters, design characters. That was my job. And it was for a video game company that would do video games for schools, for lessons. So we used to get a sheet of characters with just names. Larry the lion, Jerry the giraffe, Ed the elephant. And we had about 30 artists, and my boss would walk around and said, highlight, all right, you do these two guys, you do these two guys, and he looked at me and said, all right, you do all of them. So that was what I'm good at, is making characters, making them cool. So I would hand in all 30 guys, and I have not only 30 characters, but 3 different versions of each character. And one of my buddies says, which ones did you get? Like, which one's what? He goes, well, I got these 2 guys. What did you get? All of them. Why do you get to draw all of them? I don't know, ask the boss. He said it worked, do all of them. So that's where I'm real strong at that.
Comics started was the first thing he came up with was it's just a character sheet.
Yeah.
So he had all these characters with names on them, and even before we knew, we didn't know we were going to end up doing what we're doing with the book.
Mm-hmm.
But and he asked me, so I'll write a story, and I said, okay, that's awesome. But we didn't know anything about, because that's how all started, was he had a character reference sheet where he just created everybody, had the names, and then it was like, go.
Yeah.
And we're going.
Yeah, we're just doing it. We're making it up. I know what Action Cat is Buddy is Adventure Bug, and their secret identity is our Cornelius and Aloysius, and they work at Aya Comics. That's all I have. Now go. Don't tell an origin story. Pick up right now.
That was the only rule.
Yeah.
It's like, just don't tell an origin story, because he hadn't made them up yet.
Yeah, and I don't know what they are. And
Yeah.
it's like what I wanted to do is like, when I first read Spider-Man comic, when I first found Spider-Man, he was already fighting the Jackal. He was already fighting the bad guy. And I read it, and I didn't know who his girlfriends were. I didn't know Aunt May. I didn't know all this. I just read it, and I thought he was cool. He's a cool superhero. And that's what I want with our Aya Comics, where you pick it up, and Action Cat, Adventure Bug are good guys. Evil Cat's a bad guy. Just go for it. You don't need to know. I don't need to know anything. I want every one of our books to be somebody's first comic ever. And it's cool because I became, ever since Tiny Titans, I noticed a lot of, now I get to meet my fans. And before, when I would make comic books, I started out when I was 20, 22 or 23. So this is 20 years I'm making comics now. And when I started out, I would draw comics and sell each book to each person. I would bring books, and I wouldn't know I would sell them each one at a time. And I would see the following guy the next year and say, oh, you need issue 3 and issue 4. How'd you know? So I remember you from last time. So I would know each one of my customers and each one of my readers. Now I don't know who they are because my books are sold everywhere beyond my reach. Like I have DC Comics push them and Dark Horse making their comics. So now it's really different when I see the readers. It's really cool to see all the different people, like the kids I'm meeting, and that's awesome. And I feel like ever since that happened, I feel like I'm the guy who needs to give the first book to people that they never read a comic before, and they have to read mine first. That's kind of like, I feel like Spider-Man, like Peter Parker, with great power comes with great responsibility. I feel that's my job. I think if I stop making comics, the industry has like 10 years left before everybody can't go to comic shows no more. Because the kids won't care, so I gotta keep making them.
That is a good point, though.
It makes sense, right?
Comics, I feel like they've kind of grown up with me in a way where when I was a kid, you had Batman the Animated Series, and now you get all these, like, The Dark Knight Returns, and
Right.
series Christopher Nolan movies, but, you know, what are the 8-year-olds, the 7-year-olds reading that?
Yeah,
No, that's
Be able
true,
to stay
and
with
then,
comics.
but imagine, we're in our 40s,
yeah.
so multiply, like,
Yeah.
I've seen from Super Friends on Saturday morning
Yeah.
to
We've
what's
been
going
reading
on
comics
now.
since the late 70s.
We were talking about this yesterday, and the whole point is like, okay, so, we're gonna do what we do.
Yeah.
It's cool,
And I
it's
think
like,
that is
okay, you
perfect.
can do whatever, but somebody has to, you can do it. Anybody
Yeah.
can do it.
That's a good, like I said, that's a great point, because, you know, I have a 7-month-old
That's your guy right there.
right there,
I like
and,
him.
you know, when he's, you know, 5, 6, 7 years from now starting to read comics, I couldn't imagine him reading the current run of Batman.
No, everyone who, no matter how old you are and who you are, girl, boy, man, woman, there's a book for you.
Mhm.
And we make books for everybody.
Yeah.
Like I always think of the books I make are they're not kids books, they're everybody books. Because that's what they should call them, everybody books. Not all ages books, everybody. It's like reading the Sunday newspaper. When I used to read that on the floor with my dad and my brother, and we read all the stories. We read them together, and my dad would laugh, I would laugh. So that's kind of like I'm making comics like that, where everybody can read them. And I see the fans now, it's kind of cool, they're all over the place.
I don't think it's as bad off as everybody makes it out to be, and I've been doing shows with Artie for
Yeah.
a few years now. Now I'm making comics with him, and I would always, with Twitter, always post to every show, San Diego, New York, Chicago C2E2, the line that starts at his table, and I always take a picture and go, yup, kids obviously hate
Yeah,
comics.
people dig comics, yeah.
You know, it's like everybody, it's all good.
And people say, there's 150,000 people at San Diego show, and they're all there for some kind of comic, whether it's a movie or a toy or a TV show or a comic book, they're there because
That's always
something
funny is,
something happened in comics.
yeah, you hear people make fun of comic book genre. Well, all those movies you like and all those TV shows you like, guess what? They're based off. of
Yeah,
comic books.
Avengers is comics.
But there's something, if you want to read a comic, it's out there for you.
Mhm.
Whatever your age is, what you're into,
Right.
it's out there.
What else you got? I got a whole bunch of stuff to tell you. If you want to know anything about me, I can tell you. It's true. I can just talk to you.
Ask him about his Squatch calls.
Squatch calls. I look for Sasquatch every
see
night.
right there, that's a technical question right there.
Oh, was
What's
it?
a Squatch call?
You gotta go, "Ooh." Did you ever see, you just yell like Chewbacca out your window. Did you ever see that Squatch Hunter show? Well, I wanted to do a Storage Wars crossing over with Squatch Hunters. And instead of the guy saying, when they say 1,000, 100, 200, and that guy goes, yeah, I want this Squatch guy here going, ah. And they gotta wait for him to be done. 150, yeah, 100, 200. I think that'd be funny. We'll edit that out later.
I was going for the bathroom window.
Yeah.
Stories, but
Yeah, I make the kids brush their teeth. I said, if you guys brush your teeth, we could yell out the window, look for Sasquatch. So every night at about 8 o'clock, 8:05, you hear out my upstairs bedroom window, you hear us screaming for Sasquatch.
loud.
And
Like I just picture the neighbors going, oh geez, there's that sound again.
Because what we do too is like, I said, and then my girl Audrey said, Daddy, can they see us doing this? You're right. So we turn off all the lights. and then my daughter's like, She's like, all right, now we'll do a Gucci Nana call. All right. So when we made Oh Yeah Comics, I wanted, like, it's weird because like I love Sasquatch and I love what he is, and people believe it or not or whatever. But I've always had Sasquatch in all my books, and I didn't notice that until I'm finding some of my old books, because now you got online stuff. So I want to put a lot of my old stuff online. So I'm scanning it on the computer. I'm looking like, there's a Sasquatch story. Look at the date, 1997. I did a Sasquatch story in 1997. I said, he never left. So I wanted a Sasquatch type character in Oh Yeah Comics, that he's roaming around beautiful downtown Skokie in the woods and by the swamps. And so I told the kids, I think there's a Sasquatch in Skokie, you know, where that comic shop is. So my daughter drew a character. It looked like a horse meets a kangaroo meets a dinosaur. It looked weird. And she goes, here it is. I'm like, what is that? She goes, it's the Gucci Nana. The Gucci Nana. And she said, what is it? She said, it's a mystical creature. But people don't believe it, but he's real. He exists. And he likes to walk around swampy, marshy lands. And he goes like this. I'm like, that's going in the book. So now there's a Gucci Nanas in the Oh Yeah Comics in the first issue. Go looking for it. Yeah.
Give her credit.
Yeah, she got it. I interviewed her for the first issue. First issue of Oh Yeah Comics.
In the back of the first issue, it's Audrey's pictures there. It's a whole interview with her. The picture she drew of the Gucci Nana. Oh,
yeah, the first one. Yeah. And then now they're drawing updated versions. She was like, I can draw them better now. So it's funny. Yeah, they're doing things. So we, when I first made comics, I started it 20 years ago. I think it was 92, 93, 94. My first book came out in 1994, and I had to sell, like I said, one book at a time. And eventually I made Patrick the Wolf Boy, and I brought him to the shows and sold him one at a time. And all of a sudden, me and my buddy Franco, we work on the books together, and we got an order from the comic distributor. They wanted 4,000 copies of our book. We're like, what? Like, we never sold 4,000 copies of a book before. We were selling like 150 copies. But, so we printed the book and sent it, and then they gave us a check and we made money. We sold 4,000 books, and we're like, wait a minute, we got a check. Like, yeah, so what should we do? So let's buy computers. It's like, all right, so we bought computers, and they're like, we got money left over, what should we do? Let's make another book. So we made another book, and then they gave us more money. Like, wait a minute, we're making money because we're selling more books. So we made like 19 issues of Patrick the Wolf Boy, and we started going to all the shows and selling Patrick the Wolf Boy. And then we didn't know it, but one of our customers, one of the people who liked our stuff, was an editor at DC Comics. And I thought she was just coming around because she liked us and she liked our artwork, and she was cool and she was funny. So she called me up at home, and she asked me because at that time we were giving cards, we had our contact info, because I wasn't real famous yet. Like, nobody cared who I was, so I had my phone number on my card. But now I don't do that because people call me. So what are you doing, dude? So you're eating right now? That's so cool. So what are you doing later? Oh, you watch TV. You gonna draw today? Like, who is this? You know? So that started happening. So I can't give him. Now it's just website. But at that time she had my number. She called me, and she asked me, would you ever like to work with DC Comics? And I told her, yeah, if you ever know anybody there, I'd love to talk to them. She goes, no, I work there. Wait a minute. I known you for about 6 years, and you never told me you work at DC Comics? She says, no, I'm an editor. Like, yeah. She goes, well, what's your favorite DC character? I said, I love Tiny Titans. I love the Teen Titans. I love Superman. And she goes, oh my God, you hear her dancing in the background. She said, would you like to do a book called Tiny Titans? Like, yes. She said, we want you to draw Patrick the Wolf Boy books, but with our characters. No bad guys, just cartoon humor, make it funny, and do exactly what you're doing with Patrick, but change all the costumes. I'm like, all right. So that's how Tiny Titans job came. So by working in the industry, working at comic shows, selling one book at a time, working 3 jobs, having 5 roommates, selling my car to pay my rent, taking the bus everywhere, being late for your job because you stood up all night, making comics. I used to quit jobs when they give me a raise because I wanted to struggle. and I never had a credit card. I used to break up with girls when they didn't understand. I didn't want to go to movies. I wanted to stay home and draw comics. And it was just that I was so focused that I don't want to drive a truck. I don't want to clean a toilet. I don't want to work at that store. I want to draw comics, and I'm going to figure it out. And for about 3 or 4 years, I lived off of the money I made at conventions. And I would, I wouldn't go to the hotels. I had a van or a Blazer 4x4, and I'd sleep in there. I'd be clean because I'd go to the park district, the state parks, and they have showers. So I'd camp out. I'd pay $18 for the whole weekend, sleep in my truck, and go shower, and then drive back, and that's what I would do. I did it for about 3 years, and then I lived off of conventions. But I was real poor, and I had to make it happen, and that's how I determined to do it, to make it work. And I said, a lot of people ask me, how am I going to do it? I said, you got to figure it out. You can do it. It just hurts sometimes, but you can do it. If you want to play baseball, you got to work your way up. A-ball, AA, AAA, you know? You want to be a musician, you got to start playing in your garage, and maybe the bar, you school play, and then maybe the bar will call you, and then maybe you're at the, opening up for the Who or something, you know? So that's how it works. But after the DC, then that was it. I started making comics full time. I asked my wife to quit her job, and she didn't want to. And I was getting more and more work, and I was pulling all-nighters. I'm watching 2 babies. I was hurting real bad and wasn't sleeping. So I asked her to quit my job, and I showed her my schedule. If she quits her job, I can do all of this. If you don't quit your job, we'll be like this. And she went, oh. And I told her that if I could make more money, because I knew checks were coming. I said, if I can make more money than you make in 2 weeks, will you quit your job? Like if I make more money in 2 weeks, more money than you do. And she said, yeah. And I got to do 2 days later, I knew the checks were coming in. She's like, she goes, all right. I said, I'll put my notice in. So she went, she was home. They didn't even let her go 2 weeks. She went a week, and they said, you could go home now. So that was cool. So ever since, that was about 4 years maybe. My daughter was 2, so she's 7 now. Wow, it's been a while. So since then, I've never slept still. And I keep getting more jobs. I can't say no to stuff because this is what I want to do. And then now we got our own comic company. We make our own comics. We have 2 comic shops. I have a comic shop near Chicago and one in beautiful downtown Muncie, Indiana. So, oh yeah, comics. And we got all part of Alter Ego with Mark Wade. He's a famous guy. So it's kind of fun. We didn't make it happen. But it's not like I did this all at once. It took 20 years to build it up and a little bit more. Now we got to figure out what we want to do next. And the coolest part of what we do, I never know what's going to happen. I know I want to make Action Cat, and people ask me, are you going to make it a cartoon? And I say, yes. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but it's going to happen. And we have a doll. We have toys. They made Tiny Titans toys about 2 years ago for San Diego Con. I never knew that was going to happen. So it's kind of fun. You know, stuff like that happens, and you just keep working at it. And that's what I do, just keep making stuff. It's true.
What's been the most shocking thing for you, that you put out there and people love and you're just shocked by it?
I think it was Tiny Titans, because the hugest thing was, after Tiny Titans came out, people asked me, where have you been all this time? That came out in 2007, 2008. And I said, I've been in Artist Alley for 15 years. I was there drawing. And so once Tiny Titans hit, then I show up to the convention, and there's a line of people waiting before I even sit down. And that was the weirdest thing. That was the hardest thing I didn't see that coming. So now when we sat down, we're like, wow, is this because this can't be just that one book. You know, it was. And that was where I felt it the most, because you're sitting there and then there's a long line, and they're not only, like I said earlier, I used to know all of my fans, and now they're all people I never saw before in my life. And they all have kids, and their husbands, wives, kids, families, and all different kinds of people buying comics, waiting for sketches. So, and then I told Franco, said, we got to start dressing up. I said, because we're going on with shorts and t-shirts, and I don't like these people are coming to wait, and they're waiting in line for an hour or 2. And when they get there, I want to be cool. I want it to be part of the experience. So we started wearing ties and hats and colorful shirts. And now we just keep adding accessories, and now we're going all out, you know. But it's part of it, and really appreciate all that. And one of the biggest moments too was we were walking in a convention, and we were stopped walking and looked down. There's kids hugging my legs, and then Franco, and they're looking up at us, like, "Hey guys," and they're like, "We love you, Mr. Baltazar." Like, wow, and it was real touching because I didn't know, like, what should I do? Should I pat them on their head? Should I hug them back? Should I cry? I don't know what to do. So Franco reached over. We were by a toy dealer walking in, and he said, "How much are those 2 toys?" So he bought him Superman toys, and we handed them to the kids, and they thank you, and he went, whew, he saved us. So it was kind of funny. That's a true story. It happened a few years ago. So stuff like that, you know, and I don't see it until I come here because I'm at home all the time drawing, and when I get long hair and a beard, people ask me what happened. And I say, well, I had deadlines. I said, it feels good to be out. I haven't been out since April. So it's kind of fun.
And what's the next big thing, like that's working? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I always got stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I have a lot of opportunities now. It's just because I've worked at it, worked so hard and made stuff, made Tiny Titans, and I made Itty Bitty Hellboy. Tiny Titans and Superman was a big launching pad. Before that, I did Disney stuff, which Disney stuff was selling 1 million, 2 million copies a month. Kids were reading it, but adults were not. So the kids will read the book and say, wow, this is great. And so when those kids meet me, they freak out still. And now they're going into college. But the Superman stuff hit everyone. And that gave me an opportunity at Dark Horse Comics and with Oh Yeah Comics, and we got Kickstarter funded like really quickly because now we made it, everyone knows who we are, like we made a big impact, and they know we want to make books. But the biggest thing, the most power, and I discuss this with my wife all the time, because anytime I do stuff, I always ask her. I asked Zod too. I said, I need advice. I know what I want to do. I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, that makes more sense now. And I talked to my wife, and I said, yeah. So I said, he does good publishing, and she does good vice presidenting. She called good vicing, good publishing. So the biggest thing now, the most power, the power that you get, the most powerful you can get is the ability to say no. And I had that for a little while, and it's kind of cool. And I never had that before. Like I never could go to a meeting with the option in my head to say, I think I'm going to say no. It's always, I always go to the meeting and say, I hope they say yes. So the biggest thing now is that's the biggest change. Like I could go, like I had a ton of meetings the last few shows. People want to talk stuff. And it's now, the biggest thing now is always about me and what I have instead of me trying to work on something they have. So that's the biggest difference. So it's kind of cool. I like that though, that's what I wanted. I never thought that would happen.
The Kickstarter.
Yeah, the Kickstarter did. Yeah, because Kickstarter said that, yes, we want to work with you, but we don't have to. Look what we're doing on our own. So, even my dad told me, I got Superman, he's a big Superman fan, and he told me one, so you're working at DC Comics? Yep. And they're letting you do your own book, Superman book? Yep. I guess you made it. What else are you going to do now? It's like, that's it. What else is there? Like, I don't know, we'll figure out something. I'm not done. No, we'll keep going. So now he's like, I didn't see that coming. He told me about I showed him the Kickstarter video, and my parents, they don't know what's going on. What is this? You could see it on your computer? I'm like, yeah. So we're watching it, and they saw the video. That's you. I was like, yeah, I'm asking people, help us. We want to make these books. And so when it got funded, they asked me, did you ever, how'd that come out? And I told them, I handed them the comics. Here's the comics. She's, wow, so it's cool how my parents, they're my parents, they're grandparents, but they're not watching the comic industry like all of us are. They're not reading comics, they're not looking at stuff, they're not watching cartoons and movies. They even told me a week before Superman, we were watching Blue Bloods and they showed a Superman commercial. There's gonna be a movie. I'm like, yeah, I know, Mom. It comes out Friday. Yeah, I know. I knew for 4 years. So that's the difference. So it's kind of cool.
Working at DC, do you get a lot of, I guess, privy information like that? Like, oh, hey, we're going to do a Superman movie, 3 years.
Nah, I only know what I'm doing. I wish. I ask about it and they don't tell me. I want to. I wish I had some secrets. It's true. I only know what I'm doing. That's kind of cool. But they know what I'm doing too. So that's a secret. They're not telling nobody else. They're not telling anyone else what I'm doing. So that's kind of cool.
So you were talking about your parents.
Yeah.
When you first started saying, I'm gonna do comics, did they try to steer you in a different direction?
No,
Say,
never.
"You need to do something
I've been
else"?
drawing since I'm a kid. I remember when I was, I must have been about 8 years old. I went to an art show. My dad took me, and all I had was all the drawings I made on paper. And we used to draw on that computer paper, and you ripped, it has all the holes. We used to draw on that because he used to bring that paper. He used to bring a roll of that paper, so I would draw on it all. And I'd make big scenes. I'd draw all the cartoon characters. So we brought a stack of those drawings to an art show once, and I didn't know it was my first time at the art show. I was a little kid, and my parents didn't know what to do, so we had tape, and we were taping all my stuff on the walls and putting them on the floor, and I was standing there. I remember this happening. It was at Curie High School in Chicago, but it was everyone there was an adult, and I was the only kid.
Oh, so they supported you even like at the art?
Yeah, I remember that, and I remember them telling me, I don't think we should be here. I'm like, why? I said, because our stuff's all on the floor and everyone else has easels and little booths and stuff. It's like if you set up your little display in the hallway here, just put it on the floor. My kid's great. So I thought that was cool, and I remember that. Like, they really were pushing. And I even signed up with art classes, and the teacher told me that, I remember doing one or two of them, and the teacher telling my dad, he don't have to come back. I said, why? I said, he should be teaching the class. He knows more than I do. Like, she's teaching us how to draw cups and spheres, and like this? She's like, yeah, I'm gonna draw here about this. I'll draw this. How about this guy? She goes, wow. So I remember that too. I remember being in an art teach, she's teaching her house, and it was near St. Patrick's Day. And I drew all the stuff she wanted, and then I drew her a whole bunch of St. Patrick's Day leprechaun decorations she could hang on her wall. I just remember that. Here's some shamrocks. And she kept them all out, and I cut them out and colored them. She hung them up, and then I remember her telling my dad, nah, he don't need to come back. He don't need us here. We're holding him back, just let him go. So when I went to high school to learn art, and I took art for high school 3 periods a day for 4 years. And then I went to college, Columbia College, to learn how to paint and draw. So I knew once since I was like a little kid. You just know. It's like that little, like Tiger Woods was playing golf when he's 4 years old. You know, all right, he's gonna be the best one ever. So, same thing. Like you see Justin Bieber on those drums in that video. Now he's singing, wearing big pants. So, singing with Tupac, whatever he's doing. So, you just know it. So my kids draw all the time now too. And my daughter says, my teacher said I'm a real good artist. And we knew that already. But she tells me, it's because you are. You're awesome. She's like, all right. So I bought them art tables. I bought art tables in my living room. They draw every day. It's kind of cool.
And that's good because a lot of the arts are being cut out at the schools.
Yeah. Well, we don't need school to be artists. Come to my house, I'll show you how. But it's kind of fun.
And like, right now, the last 30 seconds of him talking that's exactly how things happen when you're around art. And I've learned this in the last few years with my association with him. It just goes without saying, when you're around him, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're gonna do it. We'll do it.
Because the attitude is, it's gonna happen. Like, if that's what you wanna do, then let's just go. We'll figure it out if we don't have a plan. We'll make, but it's gonna happen.
It's like, why can't we do it?
Yeah.
Like, you know what, one of my big goals in life is to meet Hulk Hogan. So, and then people say, how are you gonna do it? So I don't know, I'm gonna think it really hard. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna will it to happen. And I'm gonna meet him in New York. He's going to New York Comic-Con because our worlds collided. And we know just by going to the show, I know the show promoter, and they're like, hey man, I need to meet Hulk Hogan. Yeah, all right, we'll make it happen.
And Franco's got the same attitude too.
Yeah.
So when you're with these guys, meeting Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry
in
Cavill,
San
that's
Diego,
Superman. Yeah.
At the Warner Brothers party, nobody else at this party is even allowed anywhere near Henry Cavill.
Mm-hmm.
The end of the night, these guys come into the hotel. Look,
We got a
there's a
photo.
picture. Art Baltazar with
There's a
Henry
picture
Cavill.
hanging
It's like,
in our store with Henry Cavill.
of course you did. You know what I mean? It's like Jim Lee probably didn't even get any.
No, nobody got near the guy.
Of course you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna meet him. That's
Yeah,
funny.
I found out he was in the building and that was it.
You
That was
just
done.
will away. Yeah. You guys go if you want, no pressure. Yeah, you're all right. We're just here chilling. But it's cool. We got more stuff. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something cool. Hey, we want to do it. We just do it.
So did you ever have any like
Right
terrible
on, guys.
jobs?
You guys are awesome. Thank you. What's that?
Terrible jobs, and you're like,
Oh, I had 42 awful jobs, and I chose the awful jobs on purpose. Yeah, I want to clean the stock room. Yeah, give me that job. I never wanted a good job because I needed to pay my rent, needed to pay the bills, I had car insurance, all that stuff. Never wanted that good job. I would quit. I would quit jobs by just getting. I'm walking out. Where you going? I'm going home. Well, you can't. They why not? Well, you're fired. That's fine. I'll see you later. I did that a lot of time, and I know all the tricks. I'm gonna give you guys a trick. If you have a real bad boss, grouchy boss, he's an awful guy. Bring a Kleenex with you, a good one, not a clean one, and you see him walking by, sir, what? Here, you got something on your nose, right? And he'll wipe it. Did I get it? You're good. Thanks. He'll never bother you again, or you'll be good for a few months. I did that to every single one of my bosses, and they always say, Art, he's a good guy, he watches out for people. You know, you just do that, use that. I'm giving it to you now for free. People usually pay $100 for that tip. But that's what I would do, this thing. And I'd always want to meet the owner of the company. And I was working at a job designing Ace Hardware ads for newspapers, lawnmowers and tools, and I hated it. It was graphic design. I don't like it. I can't take it. It doesn't look any different if the word bowl's here or here. It don't matter. All that matters to me is the price. Is it $50 or is it $20? Let me change it. So I got out of my desk and I looked at my supervisor. She looked back, and I looked at the door of the big guy. I walked over and opened his door. He's like, come on in. I opened the door, sat down. I had my portfolio with me too. I had my sketchbooks. I bring it everywhere, especially at a job where you never, it's a hurt job. It wasn't for me. But I was getting paid real good too. It was weird. I was getting paid a lot of money, but I didn't care for the job. I wasn't happy. And so I walked in his office. I said, he goes, yes. I go, I'm Art. I just wanted to meet you. He goes, oh, well, who are you? I said, I've been working here for about 4 months. He goes, well, come on, sit down. I ended up talking to him for 2 hours about comics, about what I'm doing. And at the end of the thing, he said, so what do you want to, like, at their conversations, what do you want to do? I said, I want to draw comics. And he goes, well, why are you working here? I go, well, I need money. I got bills. I'm going to get married soon. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? So I want to go home and draw comics. He's okay. I said, can I quit? I know people give 2 weeks, but I'm going to go home now. And he went, yeah, right. And then we're walking out of the room going, hey, yeah, bud, right on, Ted, all right, see you at the game, you know? And then so my supervisor's like that. And I said, you've been here, you're behind, you're staying overtime. I got my stuff and left. And she said, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. Did you get fired? No. She said, well, you can't. And then she looked at the boss and he went, let him go. And then she went, and I went, see you later. And then she goes, this is because I want to let you get coffee? I'm like, yeah, it had to do it, yeah. I can only drink coffee in my coffee break, and you can't do that to a guy who drinks coffee, you know? I'm gonna have a mug, and we weren't allowed to have drinks on our table, but I had the Dunkin' Donuts one that doesn't spill with the lid. Boss will come by me, hey, what's up, dude? And put it down, you never said nothing to me, because I was a man. So you can't tell me, come on, man. So I went home and drew comics. And then I got married like 2 months later, real poor. But she believed in me. It's like that Kenny Rogers song. It's true.
She still does.
Yeah, she does. Now she don't work. I do everything. Flipped it. See that? What else we got? We happy? We good? It's our time up? Yeah. Should I keep going anyway? No. Well, thanks, guys. I hope I said some stuff, encouragement. Keep the good stuff, get rid of the bad stuff. Only do what makes you happy. Yeah, we were talking about Jesus. I'm sorry. No. Just kidding. Nobody laughs.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I make comics. I'm a cartoonist. IAComics.com. I'm at booth 7758B7. So you find me out there.